Welcome back everyone to my channel. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it. This week I decided to go into this pour with strictly blues across the board. I chose 4 really unique colors in terms of blues for this puddle pour. Now I'm working with here's the colors in order: grayish blue, greenish blue, sky blue light, and blue violet flash. So it seemed like a very strange color combination off the initial hop, but as I got my puddles down into a bit of a random order, things really began to take really nice shape. And now I was also working with not a very small canvas, but a smaller to me lately canvas. It was 14 inches by 18 inches, which for me is a little bit small. But nothing like the 24 by 24 I worked on a few weeks back. So this was more manageable, and I figured to just get back into the swing of things, having missed a week, needing some time to just step away for a few things. This was a great size to pick up from the store and work on this week. So when pouring my puddles, I was really quite encouraged by the fact that this darker blue really began to kind of tell me things were going to go well, leading into my blue violet flash, which is probably my favorite color of all acrylics I've ever used. Because I could tell this dark blue and this violet were going to mix really, really well and make some really great contrast colors during my swipes. And now, before I do forget, happy Thanksgiving to all my friends south of the border who celebrated Thanksgiving this past Thursday in the US. So happy Thanksgiving. I hope you guys had a great couple days off Thursday and Friday and enjoyed some time with your family or just away from work or menial tasks that we all tend to stack up on ourselves at our homes or apartments. Anyway, happy Thanksgiving to all those down south. I hope you guys had a great few days. Now I just realized that with these colors, I actually had to re-stir them because I poured the color 3 days prior to the pour itself. Now because I used Floetrol and pouring medium, as my pouring medium, the Floetrol separated after the first and second days. So it had kind of got into 2 parts, 1 part Floetrol, 1 part pouring medium, and needed a stir. So I needed to torch my colors again. I don't like to have to mix my paints, but needed to add water as well, as they had gotten thick too in those 2 days. Just putting off my painting, I suppose. But here's where my handy torch comes in handy to pop all those bubbles that may create some pinholes on the top once it dries. So don't forget to get your torch out or heat source to make sure and pop all those tiny air bubbles. And now looking down on all this color, now it does look like a bit of a blob of a mess of all those blues and a bit of violet, but I promise you in the end, this is maybe one of my favorite pieces I've done in the past year at minimum. I found that the colors were working well. Again, that darker blue is really going to pick up some steam in a bit here once I'm through with my breaking. So I was quite happy with how the result turned out. If we just kind of stick with us through the end and take a look once we're done, but I decided to also go back over top my breaks a second time to create some more dimension and contrast in this piece. So although it looks, again, very blobby with very similar colors, I promise the end product is worth the wait. And now with this pour, it's actually just 2 swipes and some tilts, so very simple this week. Now with this first swipe, I was very happy with how the swipe and lacing turned out. Had I let the video run a bit longer, the lacing does kind of even out and become more stretched and colorful, so I promise you'll see this in a little bit, and it looks gorgeous. So here is my second swipe, and that is it, Schmidt. So my ratios for my cell activator are 1 part Australian Floetrol, pardon me, to 2 parts titanium white Amsterdam acrylic paint. So that is my cell activator, which gave me all that gorgeous lacing on this piece, and here we are with some beautiful color in that violet and those blues. So I'm looking for the contrast off these tilts. Now as I go in for the first kind of bout at my tilts, I am simply trying to determine with this pour where the paint is on the canvas, where it's heaviest, where I could lean first or tilt first, I suppose, and get the color to fall off, which establishes kind of my beginning point for this pour. However, I did want to make sure to keep and maintain as much lacing in both my lanes of lacing as I could, because it was by far the prettiest part of this pour. So I'm doing my best to get that color to go back and forth towards us and back towards me as we look down on it. But again, maintain the lacing structure and the gorgeous color in this blue and purple combination. It was really quite pretty looking down on, to just take the time and appreciate the fact that the color combination I took a swing at worked out really, really well. And now the only downside to this pour is that the tilts took like 7 hours because my paint was quite thick. I think because I had mixed my paints several days before my pour, although I used water to give it consistency towards the pour, it was simply too thick. And I was borderline too light on my colors altogether, so I needed to stretch really carefully again to maintain the lacing structure itself, but also not to wreck my pattern. So keep that in mind for future pours. If you're mixing your paints beforehand, don't mix them too far away from your pour date, or you could have to re-stir them and add water to polish off the color, making sure it flows, smoothly and not like molasses. Okay, now for this pour, I think two things really make it stand out. One is the fact that my lacing was really on point this week with my color combinations, and two, the Blue Violet Flash by Folk Art is the color shifting paint I really, really like using, because it shows two colors depending on your light. Now, the finished result is, again, one of my favorite pieces in a long time, but I found that the darker blue really helped out with the lacing, with the contrast of the white bleeding into the darker blues and the violet. So between the color shifting paints I used and the darker color, I got some really pretty combinations back and forth, up and down, all over this painting, and couldn't be happier. Okay, and going in for a bit of an overhead look of the finished piece, I'm curious what you guys think on how this turned out. Leave me a brief comment in the comment section below on your feelings and thoughts on this week's pour, the color combination, the kind of the theme of the pour, what your favorite part was. And also, I think that what brought this together was the darker blue along with the violet. The violet is the shimmery, shiny part of this painting and looks gorgeous. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and if you have, give it a quick thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel as well. And again, hope you enjoyed it, and we will catch you again in the next one.